intrigues you about this group of players right here that you brought in today?
I think with the way the NBA is trending nowadays, it's all about shooting. It seems to be very much centered on shooting, and we brought in a couple of large shooters, essentially. You know, they're big men that can stretch the floor, and they can do a lot of things like rebound and also grab the board and push the break and do a lot more than what your typical bigs can do. So it's kind of intriguing to see, you know, how they fit into what we're trying to do here, and the fact that they can play multiple positions and defend multiple positions and shoot the ball and just, you know, bring a little bit of versatility to a roster is it's pretty intriguing.
Are you finding there are more 6'10" shooters in the game than ever before that gives you more choice?
Yeah, I think it's just it's a development thing. You know, so many kids nowadays, they see the three-point shot becoming such a key part of the NBA, and from a young age these guys are practicing it, and everyone, you know, I think they probably start, or I'd say most kids probably start wanting to be a ball handler and be the guy that you know, does most of the scoring, and then as they grow, those skills stay with them. And so I think nowadays there's so many more talented bigs in a face-up situation that it's just kind of a, you know, a natural evolution of the game. And now that teams are catering towards those more so than maybe low post guys, it definitely, I think, is trending that way.
We saw with Wiltshire yesterday and Ellison today, and go back to Kelly Olynyk, all those guys have seemed to be 6'10" shooters. So that's what they do primarily.
Yeah, and I think it's what they do primarily, but it's not just what they do. I mean, guys, they also have a handle, and they can do a lot of things as far as passing and just kind of bring some variety to your offense as far as when things break down. There's guys that can get you shots in different variety of ways. And I mean, Ellison's a guy that he kind of grew up playing a point guard position, and then he grew a lot, and now all of a sudden he's a skilled 6'11" guy. So it's definitely a common trait nowadays.
I know it varies a lot on a case-by-case basis, but what's the challenge for these 6'10" shooters? Is so many of them are coming out into the league, and they're good shooters and ball handlers, but what do you think that player needs to work on and focus on in order to become one of the more consistent NBA players?
It's kind of crazy, but I think that I wish so many of them learned how to be on the low block when they were younger. I mean, it's such a kind of a forgotten talent nowadays, to where if they grew up playing on the low block and then they get to the NBA and we see how talented they are and that they can space it, then they can add that to their game as well. So many guys come in now having done nothing but perimeter work, and now it's really hard to get those guys to want to go down on the low block and bang around and play both. So I think the biggest thing is for young bigs, it's like if you just work at, you know, being solid around the rim and learn the touch and all that type of finesse work, when they get to the NBA, the coaches are so good at their jobs, like they can now pull the rest of the skills out of your game and teach you how to space the floor and kind of progress you into being a better all-around player than just a stretch big.
The Raptors already have a young big guy in Valanciunas who grew up kind of on that low block. So bringing in like these stretch fours and whatnot, do you think, given like Valanciunas is like his game, like being down low, like do you think like you guys kind of need like a stretch four to complement him?
I wouldn't say it's as much as a need as it is we understand that these types of players can be complements to JV, and not just JV, because I mean, you think about guys like Kyle and DeMar, who a big part of their game is getting to the rim and finding seams. Those creases don't exist if you don't have guys that can stretch the floor and pull the defenders out away from the paint. And so when you can have anyone on the floor in addition to JV, who's such a good low post guy, and then Kyle and DeMar, who are great at driving the ball, if you can have the other two guys as guys that can, you know, need a defensive assignment and draw a player away from the paint, it makes those guys' job that much easier. So it's not so much can these guys, you know, give us whatever, like 25 points a game and stretch the floor like an all-star. It's more of like, what do they bring to the table, and how does it make the rest of our team's life easier?
What was your impression of what these two young men did today on the court? Did you learn anything new from them?
Not so much learn anything new, but I mean it was impressive. I mean it's tough on these essentially 1-on-0 workouts because there's not a lot of rest in a typical 6-man workout. There's more downtime. There's a little more live action play to where not to say you get to rest during that, but it's a little bit different. Whereas this is a lot of endurance and then shooting on top of that. So. It was impressive to see these guys, and I mean 6'11" guys at that, run the floor and hit transition threes, and then do time drills where they have to get certain number of shots up and not only do that but then make a lot of shots doing that. It's pretty impressive.
You mentioned Ellison's pass as a ball handler. Little tough to get a look at some of that decision making that may come into play.
Yeah, it's in a setting like this, it's pretty difficult. But I mean, that's what we watch so much film on him, and we kind of know. We know he has a really good feel for the game, and we tried to do as many things that we could as far as decision making on the fly by just having the coaching staff like call out different reads that he has to make, and then see what he can do, or have off a rebound, like have one coach raise a hand and then he has to kind of survey the floor, find the guy, and go to. So it's different things like that you can kind of try to recreate with some decision making in a game, but it's tough in a setting like this.
Last year you guys drafted 2 players who shooting was supposed to be a weakness. Obviously those guys both saw their shots come along, but a little bit of a divergence for you guys now looking at guys who can shoot already?
Not really. I mean, I think we're kind of more of, can we bring in guys who fit our culture and fit roles that we need and different things like that. And if they shoot, great. If not, that's what our coaching staff has to really work on. It's kind of more of, both DeLon and Norm, it's not that they weren't known as shooters in college, but kind of looking at their mechanics and seeing what they could do, we knew that it wasn't going to be a worthless cause. Like we felt that with a lot of development work and some time of just repetition, their shooting should improve. And I think both guys showed that they were a little bit better shooters than what they probably were given credit for. Guys like this, we know that, they're probably not, they won't need as many hours of getting up shots, but the more repetition they get, the more automatic they get. And then you can kind of tweak things a little bit for them to where if you can get them to be, kind of a sniper on the outside over the years, if it can get to that point, then you've got a big problem on your hands for other teams.
With stretch fours, what's obviously like shooting the ball is important, but with the new NBA, like lateral quickness, defending the pick and roll is important. What you see in terms of that from these two guys? Yeah,
again, that's another thing it's a little difficult to recreate in a workout like this with only a couple guys going against our coaches. But we tried to do our best we could to try and put them in situations where you see the lateral mobility and the recovery speed and that kind of things. And both guys showed that once they get used to the NBA rotations and they get used to the speed of the league, it shouldn't be liabilities at all. I mean, I think that it's definitely something that you have to work on, and getting stronger, getting in the weight room and working on just core strength and mobility and that kind of stuff. It'll go a long ways with these guys as they get to the NBA and start working out with NBA level trainers. So definitely we took a little bit from this workout, but it's nothing that we can say yes or no as far as like, is that going to be a big part of their game.